Folks, boys, my fellow gentle squids, this Aprilia RS457, this thing's a revelation, man. This thing, truly a step forward, in my opinion, to the world of beginner sport bikes and possibly to the world of motorcycling in general. I know that might be a little hyperbolic. I know you might say, dude, relax, it's just a motorcycle. But no, I honestly think this little thing is, it's kind of in a league of its own. As you guys know, I've been riding this motorcycle for quite some time now, a couple of weeks, because I bought it, because I'm giving it away. That's right. This is actually the penultimate day you have to get entered to win this bike. Tomorrow the sweepstakes ends. So you better head over to yamd.co. You better get your chances locked and loaded, because this was a short one, baby. If you miss this one, that's it. You're out. Now, we obviously have many more motorcycles coming until the end of the year. You guys know how we like to end the year around here at Yammy Noob. But this is your last chance. This is the penultimate day. Make sure you get entered to win. You're not going to want to miss it. This thing's pretty freaking sweet. And I'm going to explain to you why it's a true step forward in motorcycling and the beginner bike market. Let's swing a leg. Let's go. And you better go to the website, man. I swear to God. Yammy Noob team out here pumping out daily motorcycle content to the highest degree. And you're not supporting us on yamnoob.co? You're not watching the live streams? Come on. You want to be the best motorcyclist? I want to be the very best motorcyclist. Ooh, that worked well. Good syllabic intonation there. Yeah! Wide open, let's go! So this little bike, man, the frame, it's the frame. I've talked about the frame so much on the channel. But it's also the fact that you can do this with it, you know? Like, yes, you can do this with the Ninja 400, but it doesn't feel as good as the RS457. This thing is awesome to charge down some twisties with. It's super duper fun. And engineering playfulness is hard on a motorcycle. It's hard to get a motorcycle dialed in to feel nice and playful. But this motorcycle does, it's just so dialed in. And it's rare that manufacturers have paid this much attention to the beginner bike category. Typically in the beginner bike category, it's been an afterthought, you know? It was kind of like, put a dumb little parallel twin in there. Nobody will know the difference. Slap on some R-bike styling. Or maybe some Ninja fairings. Put Ninja on the side of it. Nobody will know the difference. Make a Ninja 300, whatever, you know? That's how it was for years. And then the RC390 stepped in and it was like, no, we should do something a little bit pointy, a little bit sporty, a little bit active, a little bit, you know, proper. But all those bikes always felt kind of weird, kind of compromised, you know, in different ways. The KTM's biggest flaw, in my opinion, was the fact that it had a single-cylinder engine. That was a huge miss. Now, this motorcycle, with its wonderful parallel twin, I think is phenomenal, you know? The 270-degree crank is, in the beginner sport bike category, still relatively uncommon. You don't see that often. The only other bike that has it is the CF Moto 450 SS. And I will admit, I don't really want to buy a Chinese bike for my first beginner motorcycle, and I've never recommended one to you guys. I think that the CF Moto 450 SS is a good bike. I think that when I reviewed it, I was like, yeah, this is a solid, handsome, you know, well-performing motorcycle, but the badge is a big concern, you know, and I said that a lot of people would have qualms with the badge, but overall, it's a very solid package and anyone would be happy with it. But this Aprilia blows it out of the water. Honest to God, it really does. And I didn't think they could do it, but it really is a step forward, you know? The way that this motorcycle handles is sublime. It's sublime. It feels like a real sport bike, you know? The way that it falls into corners, the way it feels on the front end is super, super similar to how a real sport bike feels. And that's rare. You don't really see that in the beginner segment, you know? Typically when you upgrade from the beginner bike sport category, your R3s and H400s, when you upgrade to the larger displacement you know, big brothers of those bikes, your, let's say R6, a ZX6, whatever it may be, typically the jump is big, it's fast, you know, you're like, whoa, this bike, you know, behaves totally differently, it's bigger, it's brasher, it makes so much more power, it's a rocket ship, right? And this new power progression category, you know, where you're going from an RS457 to an RS660, it's really strange. For an RS457 to a 660, really, you're getting like a little bit better geometry and handling. Like, yeah, the 660 just feels really good on the side of the tire, but this thing feels really damn good too. And you're getting more grunt and top end power. But the engines, you know, the architecture is the same. It's a 270-degree parallel twin crank. And so you're not going from 2-cylinder to 4 cylinders. You're still sticking in 2 cylinders, right? But that's why I think, you know, we now definitely have a gap in the upper middle category, right? And this is why something like the Yamaha R9 is going to be very interesting. And I think they're going to start that new war in the upper middle category. And honestly, Aprilia should do something in that category, you know? Going from an RS660 to an RSV4 is insane. Like, you're not going to have a fun time doing that. You just won't, you know? Going from about 100 horsepower to 215 horsepower is a lot, and I wouldn't really recommend it. You should find something in the 120, 130, you know, 900cc. Don't go for an 1100cc race-derived V4 from a parallel twin that you used to have, you know, like that's going to be a bad idea, and you're not going to have a fun time. That's what I would recommend. But yeah, now manufacturers are kind of missing that link, right? It's the same with the Yamahas, you know, ever since the R7 took over the R6 pretty much, so they don't make the R6 anymore. You pretty much go R3, R7, R1. Don't go R7, R1. That's insane. You'll die. You won't, maybe you won't die, but you'll have a very bad time, right? But that's where this 457 is a step forward. It's because it's preparing riders better for leveling up. It's giving you something you can genuinely, quote unquote, grow into, right? I have pretty good track day experience, pretty good racing experience. I endurance raced the Ninja 400. I've done over 100 track days. That upper echelon of rider on track, right? Not a pro level, right? Absolutely not, but definitely the upper echelon. And you know, I think this motorcycle will equip riders to be better prepared to jump up the power categories, and you can still be flexible enough that if you don't want to go up the power category, you're not missing much, you know? Like, you could actually get an RS457 and you would never really feel the need, if you didn't really want the extra power, to get a 660. Honestly, like, if you rode them back to back, you would say, oh, it feels just like my bike, but, you know, a little bit more sporty and, you know, a little bit more power and torque. It's faster for sure, but it's not lightning fast. I'm sure to a beginner, an RS660 would feel very fast, but it's not going to feel preposterously fast, right? And not that different than the RS457. And that's why I think this thing is yet another step forward, because it breaks the mold of what you expect a beginner sport bike to be. You know, a lot of those bikes, you expect them to be soft, you expect them to be wallowy, you expect them to not handle very well and to have very uninspired power, and to just, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'll deal with it because it's a sport bike, you know, for the beginners, whatever. But this thing is genuinely enjoyable for anybody. Like, I'm sure you guys saw my first ride and review on this thing. I had a blast. I had an absolute blast riding this thing, and I still do every time I swing a leg over it. I think it's so much fun to ride, and that's coming from someone who's ridden everything from Turbo Hayabusas to leader bikes to, you know, all the naked bikes and dirt bikes. I mean, this thing is super fun. It's a super fun motorcycle, and that's just really different. We haven't really seen that in this category, and it goes to show you, when you're in a market and you start getting more demand and you start getting more competition, you start getting more innovation, you start getting better products, right? Simple economics, right? And I think this RS457 is the culmination of all that competition that's been being bred in the beginner bike category. So much so that somebody at Aprilia probably several years ago, was looking at the way the winds were blowing, and they were like, hey, we need to get in on this. Like, we absolutely need to get in on this beginner sport bike category because it's blowing up, and we could clean up shop if we made a really good motorcycle. And that's exactly what they've done. Honest to God, I don't understand why Yamaha hasn't released something like this as an update to the R3. I think everybody's waiting for it, man. It would be so similar if Yamaha built an R4 that was basically an RS457. The power progression jumps to an R7, you know, like it's really nice. It works out really well. The R7 could use a bump in power. Maybe you could give it some hotter cams and give it a nastier profile, right? And then it could be a motorcycle that competes more favorably with the RS660, makes a little bit more power, delineates itself from the MT-07, right? Much like the Trident 660 and Daytona 660, you could put a hotter engine in the R7. And I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why they just plug and played the MT-07. Maybe for reliability, maybe for simplicity, maybe for that juicy margin, because you already printed out tens of thousands of MT-07 engines. Why don't you go ahead and just print out a couple more? You got to do nothing at the factory. Just keep printing out more engines, right? You don't need to change any of the manufacturing process. Just keep it exactly the same. So I understand that, you know, from the corporate perspective, but the enthusiast in me would love to see something like that, because then I think Yamaha's offerings would go, R4 would be similar to this, R7 kind of hopped up like a Daytona 660, but more like an RS660, right? R9, triple cylinder, basically MT-09, and then you got the Big Daddy R1. That's an amazing, like, overall power progression platform for Yamaha. And of course, you guys know I'm a big time Yamaha fan, and of course in a video where I'm supposed to be talking about how this bike is a step forward, we end up talking about Yamaha's power progression, because I really do think it's just sad. It's sad what's happened to Yamaha. Both in MotoGP and on the street sales too. They've really fallen from grace, but I mean, that's not even considering what's going on. Honda's just given up on the beginner bike category, I think. They keep coming out with the 500s, and you know, dummies keep buying them. I don't understand why you would buy a CBR 500 when the RS457 is available. This is a phenomenally superior motorcycle to the CBR 500 in every single way, shape, and form, and it's cheaper. Imagine that, because of course it is. So I really think this bike, it's going to set the tone, man. It's really going to set the tone for what a beginner sport bike should be. And look, I understand a lot of you would be scared to own an Aprilia, and if you don't live near a dealer, I understand, you know, like, I'm very lucky. I have AF1 here in Austin. If anything went wrong with an Aprilia that I owned, I would just pop it over there and figure out what's going on with it. So I completely get it if you're not, you know, within 100 miles of a dealership. But if you are, really give these bikes a shot, man. It's really pretty good, you know? I literally bought this bike. I'm not paid by Aprilia in any way to say this stuff. I just think the bikes are genuinely very good, and they're genuinely turning into something, you know, a lot better than they used to be, which is really cool. Oh yeah! Look at the way it revs, baby! I swear, when it's full song, 5th and 6th gear, that engine note is indistinguishable from a 660 to me. It really is. It feels just like a 660. How cool is that, that the beginner bike is so similar to the big bike? That is so cool. That is so freaking cool. Yeah, y'all gonna tell me this isn't something so different and cool in the beginner category? You gonna sit there and tell me this bike isn't exciting? This is so exciting, man. I'm so happy that we're getting bikes like this and we're not existing in some stagnant market. I mean, RIP to all you 600 boys. That is a stagnant ass market, that's for sure. All right, boys, why don't we flick the wick on the 457 a little bit, see what she can do up this fun set of roads here. I'm pinned in fourth. Just trailing it in, having a little bit of fun. The road's wide open, why not? pretend like it's a track day. Don't ride like me. Don't ride like me. Oh yeah, this thing's great. What an awesome little bike, dude. That cambered corner back there. Oh, that was fun. And it just started raining. Lucky me. Well, boys, that's going to sum up my thoughts on why this little RS457 is a big step forward in the motorcycling market. And I just want to remind you, because your sweet Papa Yam loves the support, go and check out the giveaway on yammynoob.co. I wish I could keep this bike, but I'm not. It's being given away. Tomorrow is the very last day you have to get entered to win it, so make sure you don't miss out. Become a member, get your entries locked and loaded, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.
Woohoo! Fellas, time's up. This video is over. Do you know what else is running out of time? This sweepstakes for the RS457. I really don't want you to miss this. This bike is super cool. It's hard to come by and it's brand spanking new. If you're a beginner sport bike rider or if you're an experienced rider that just wants an awesome, fun toy, head over to the website, sign up and become a member, and don't miss your chance to win this RS457. And I suppose you could keep watching Yammy Noob right over here or here. It's somewhere. I don't know. Go watch it.